What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Muted. All right, stream is live. It's going. Hope you guys had an awesome week. So, well, I gotta turn down my music a little bit. Yeah, so we're just gonna continue sculpting on Miss Olive here. Ah, yeah, man. Nice day. Friday. It's Good Friday today. Been a busy week, but busy but good. We got the ZBrush for our 8 update already. P1. So that's good. So those of you guys who didn't get the notice, there's a small patch. Close, close. It's 4 million. This one's not quite. I think it's basically stability, yeah. Seems like it. I forget the model number, but it's the 16 core i7, like the 816. I think no, I got 16 threads maximum, so 8 cores, 16, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Oh, here we go. 5960. 5960X. Wow, that's ridiculous. Gotta watch out for that water, man. Yeah. It's actually kind of an old CPU at this point, but honestly, performance, I don't really, even if I got like a new one, I don't think I'd see any real difference. I just keep my GPU updated. Make sure I run the latest GPU and solid state drive, and you don't really have to mess with the computer too much every year. Thanks, man. I just shaved, so, I think I look my best today. I do what I can to look good for you guys on stream. Oh, you're talking about the model. Thanks, man. Yeah, she's getting there. All right. So right now we have, let's see, 4 division levels. I think all the wood is pretty much blocked out. This part could use some love. So basically, once I get the wood all into shape, we'll step up to the next sub D. Because once it starts getting really high res, I don't really like to go back and edit any of the major forms anymore. So especially when it comes to the wood flow. Keyboard interface. It's actually built into XSplit, and it's just a plugin. It's a free one. So I'm not using OBS. So hey, Blans, what's up, dude? We're back at it. What's up, Seagull? Yeah. No, trim dynamic and H polish. The 2 brushes. I feel like when I use the rake brush, it's a little too uniform. So it's a good brush to add like noise, but I end up having to go over it with H polish a lot anyways, and combine a lot of the forms, or else you just get kind of like a lot of lines going the same direction that are all the same size. So instead of using the rake, which I think is pretty cool, I might use it a little bit, but I like to use the clay buildup, and then just change size, and then go like smaller, and then go like really large, and then you get like a lot of different sized growth happening, I guess. And then kind of pimp it out a little bit with the orb crack. So find some of these grooves and kind of eat away at them. By the way, I hope you guys know, I found my Intuos 4 Wacom tablet. It's been in storage for like 2 years. And so now I don't have to use this thing, which is the Intuos 3. It's like, look at the space change. It's like, for like, I mean, I know the real estate is a little bit less, but it's definitely a, that's nice. Performance is the same though. Yeah, we do relaxing music on this stream, on my stream in particular, I guess. Because one, when we're streaming on the Pixelogic, we have to use royalty-free music. So from my in-depth research, you can either have like techno or drum and bass or some form of electronic music that's royalty free, or and that's pretty much it. So I realized when I first started streaming on the Pixelogic, like, hey, I could probably get away with classical music. So do I like it better than drawing on the screen? No. I used to have a Cintiq. Don't currently run one. I do want to get one again one of these days. I do prefer the Cintiq over the tablet for about half of the things I do in ZBrush. So not all of the things, just half of them. Like when you're doing really long, curvy strokes, I really like the Cintiq because you can do it all in one motion and you use your whole arm rather than just like a little wrist flick and end up having to like redraw the curve like 5 times until it's until I'm happy with it. I don't know what's going on in here. So I don't like when I'm preparing models for 3D print, I do a lot of back and forth between different apps and jumping between applications when on the Cintiq is fairly annoying. So I don't really like having my Cintiq for that out. So I guess the more technical stuff I do in ZBrush, I don't really like having a Cintiq on for that. But then the more artistic stuff, I guess I do like it more. So But if I were to say like only have the Cintiq, or only have a tablet, like if I could only get one, I would probably definitely choose having a Wacom tablet. If I could only have one device at my disposal, whether that's like a budget thing or a space thing. This is looking a little penisy right here. I got to get rid of that. Right now, I just had the one screen. It's a 30-inch screen. Yeah, I would definitely recommend getting an Ergotron for a Cintiq. It really helps. That's what I had actually. I used to have the Ergotron with the 22 HD. I had a 24 HD for a while. I sold that, got the 22, and then I sold that. Yeah, I'll be using SLA, a Form 2 to print. Yeah, my name's not Ryan either. Are you just saying my comment is a very Ryan Kingsley thing to say? How did that switch shaders? I didn't see that happen. That was weird. Oh, I do paint some prints, but not all of them. But the character stuff that I've been doing, I haven't been painting. But I do want to start painting them when I have a little bit more free time. So currently, no, I do not paint these prints. But that's definitely on the to-do list, to start painting them. Alrighty, so all the wood is pretty much in the same space in terms of detail level. I use gray primer, particular with SLA prints, since it's a photo. Light sensitive resin, so photo curing resin, photopolymer. That's the word I was looking for. Since it's a photopolymer, light curing resin, you have to seal it with something, regardless of the material you print in: gray, white, clear, etc. So I always print in. I guess I don't really have like a standard of color resin I print. I just kind of print in whatever material I happen to have. Like sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's gray, sometimes it's white. But I always primer the prints afterwards because it seals in the model. It prevents it from further curing, and because it's resin, and when you put primer on it, it allows you to do any kind of light sanding. That you might need to do to remove any supports or I don't know, fix something. Who knows? So yeah, always primer the print after when you're done. This actually will be my first 4R8 3D print, so I think that's going to be kind of exciting. For this girl, I'll be using the real-time booleans for sure. Yeah, so definitely be using the real-time booleans. All right, so today we have a different coffee cup. We have this cool MPC, Moving Picture Company, coffee cup. Has a cool picture of a bird and like a old TV with looks like Atari hooked up to it or something. And so that's this Friday's sponsored coffee cup, if you will. This one I got at ZBrush. In 2006, I want to say. So that's pretty old coffee cup. It's a good sized coffee cup too. It fits right into my espresso machine. All right, guys, we're gonna divide. So I'm gonna save this out for yeah, sometimes I move the camera from to my back and right to the front left. Um, when I'm not streaming, the camera just stays on my back and on my right on a tripod. So it's honestly mostly out of laziness. I leave it there. But thank you for noticing. I try hard to get good, fun camera angles of the studio. No, it's just a Logitech. I was gonna try to hook up my DSLR actually. Like I got it behind me right here. So, but I don't really know how that works with like the whole battery thing. So it doesn't have a power input on the back of the DSLR. So I know I can do like AV into the computer, but if I'm streaming for like a few hours, is my camera gonna run out of power or what? So I've yet to experiment with that stuff. So well, this is just a little Olympus. Micro 4/3 camera. I sold my 5D a long time ago. And this camera doesn't get hot at all, so I think it'd be fine on that level. But yeah, the battery issue is what I was more thinking of. Is it going to use up all the power? Or if it's streaming video to the computer, does it not really use a lot? I don't know. Oh, really? Okay. So I guess it doesn't really use much power if it's doing video feed. Okay. Cool, that's exciting. I'll try that out for sure. I do have my AC vent right behind me, so. But my office doesn't really get that hot, so it's good. Do you guys ever find like when you're sculpting and the light hits the model just a certain way and you can't tell if the surface is going out or in? Becomes like a weird little optical illusion. You're like, what direction did I just put that surface? Random thought. Maybe I just have terrible eyes, I don't know. Oh yeah, damn standard. Yeah, I noticed that too. Like you can't tell which direction you just like you just push the surface. Yeah. Oh yeah? That's cool. All right. Now we're going to save and divide. Save and divide. All right, 6 million. Let's see, how do our details hold up here? Not quite. I'm going to divide one more time. All right, 27 million. That's better. All right, guys, which, let's start right in the middle of it. All right, so at this stage, I'm pretty much happy with the flow of all the wood elements, and now all the wood on her face and her face are all considered to me like primary and secondary forms. So we want to go and add our tertiary. I guess it's kind of like a blend between our secondary and tertiary details. So there's no real good way to, no real good place to start, I guess, but we'll just kind of kind of pick an area and go to town. So now I don't always have to be at the top level for some of this. Yeah, like these details. So I always try to, like, even though I subdivided to level 6, which is 27 million, that's mainly for areas around the face where, for example, if I wanted to add like a tighter line here, you see how it's still very pixelated, versus up here I can add like a really detailed line, because our poly density is higher in the top here than it is around the nose. So I'll always work in the lowest subdivision that I can for maximum speed, I guess. So I'll usually start off with like the orb crack and kind of like start adding details to where there's like intersection points. So instead of there being like a really continuous line that's like the breakup between the two surfaces that are converging, we'll start like kind of just adding noise and interest into these little grooves. Sometimes going out, sometimes going in. So add like little subtle like little woodpecker marks or something. Well, I think orb, there's a pack, like an orb pack. I don't know if that's like the guy's name. Honestly, I don't really remember where or why or how I got the brush. It's probably recommended to me by a friend. But this brush here is the Orb Cracks 2, and it's just it's like a V, so it doesn't have any kind of inflate or pinch to it, I believe. So it's a very nice brush for adding kind of like this scratchy little details and kind of really making things, like right now, like this area right here looks very CG. It's because it's so soft and in a weird sense, it's kind of perfect. So kind of like what I like to do is go over it with something like really sharp and angular and kind of just break up that line so it's not straight, it's not all the same width. And so now you get something like that, which from a distance it'll still read as a line, but there's a little bit of like non-uniformity that happens when two surfaces are converging. So a lot of it's like the line will start and stop and begin at different places. So that's really all that is. Let's see here. When you decide that, okay, now details is sufficient and everything else can get with textures. Well, the beauty of sculpting is that, well, okay, let me caveat that, and I kind of say this on like every time I stream. So all of my models that I do on stream are for the purpose of 3D printing. So, so there will be no textures being painted on here. But as a rule that I like to follow when I'm doing more production work is that if the details are going to affect your silhouette, then they should be sculpted. If the details are very high in frequency, then they should be textured. And I don't mean textured with only maybe a normal map. They could be a textured displacement as well for a fine displacement if you're doing film. So it doesn't, texturing doesn't necessarily mean it lacks depth per se, but really there's no good reason to do like pore level detail in a sculpture, other than it looks really cool, but realistically it should be textured because a lot of those pore details need to have like good color associated with it, and yeah, so like some of the best is like a really good hybrid between the two. But everyone has a different workflow, so I don't think there's any like one right way, but because you got to realize too, texture density will always be better than polygon density. So unless you want to like, I mean, realistically, to get like good pore level detail on a head, you're looking at like 60 million polys or something like that to really get like that fine detail, and that gets kind of insane. So is there anything we should adjust in performance to work with the high million of poly like this? As long as your model has subdivision levels, you should be able to get really good performance out of a model this dense. If you're trying to Dynamesh and then like Dynamesh and have millions of polys, like, and when I say millions, I mean more than 20, then you're gonna have like more performance issues because ZBrush really utilizes sub-D levels when it comes to rotation. And also the, I don't know, like having a good CPU, I guess, is very helpful. So having a good CPU will be the biggest benefit, I think, for ZBrush users. But honestly, ZBrush is a really cool program. It runs like really good on like most PCs, regardless of how good it is. And So like really spending some time on this area, defining where the branches are like either going into the skin or like resting on top, just pushing in. So a lot of times I like to use like the orb crack brush and draw a line, and then take your clay buildup, and then on one side of that line, press Alt and like remove the mass. So then you get this like effect of the wood on one side is significantly more like raised than the side under it. And you get this kind of bark effect that's pretty cool. And then you can use the orb crack with like kind of an Alt key and sharpen up this edge. Sometimes you can like push up under it a little bit. So you're kind of like defining areas of where the wood might be smoother versus like the wood under that area is kind of like more worn away and eaten, and carpenter ants have had their field day. I don't know. I don't really get any lag. I mean, I'm streaming right now. I have my threads turned down to 13 instead of 16. And the stream actually, streaming in HD is actually pretty CPU intensive, I guess. It's using like 10% of my CPU constantly. But when I'm working normally, I don't really get any lag per se. And like I said, the more subdivision levels you have, the better like response you get from ZBrush. Oh shit. Sorry. All right. Actually, I have 3 subtools. Yeah, that's true. But that's a different issue, actually. The more subtools you have is the worse your performance is going to get. Oh, I said, oh shit, actually. I hit the create a... I hit 2 mesh button. Yeah, when you get models with like 40, 50 subtools, like it doesn't even have to be a high poly count. I've actually found that the more subtools you have, even if there's like a lot of small ones, like that are not very many polygons, have a bigger performance impact negatively than like a few like super high res, like 8 million polygon models. So yeah. Yeah, on the stream it might be lagging a little bit, but that's because of the throughput on the stream. There's maybe like a couple millisecond delay when I rotate, but the sculpting is all real time. And any performance issues that, oh my God, what is that? Holy crap. Oh, I had that turned on. Hold on, let me turn that thing off. That thing is annoying. There we go. Whew, that almost killed me. I don't even remember what I was saying. So Blans asked earlier, have I played with any of the 4.8 features? Yeah. So the other day I was working on this little freelance thing, and I was making some vector displacement meshes. That worked out really well. And then I think most excited about is probably the real-time Boolean stuff. For me, that's going to have the biggest impact on my workflow, I believe. So because right now, like whenever I prep stuff for print, everything's very destructive because you're always dynameshing, and you can always reproject your details back. It's not like really an issue, but it's slow, and it's slow and kind of stupid actually. So the fact that we have the real-time Boolean stuff is going to help a lot with cutting up meshes and just getting ready to create all your keys for the 3D prints. So I started doing some tests, but yeah, I mean, definitely that's going to be the biggest impact to my personal workflow. I think if I was doing more production work, well, I think even that would be good for production stuff. I don't know. That's my personal favorite, I guess. Oh yeah, Booleans with array mesh, yeah. Damn it, I keep hitting that stupid button. Need to move that. That's interesting. You know, I have been having this issue with ZBrush 4.8 of buttons disappearing on my UI. So if you guys see on the bottom right and like the top, there's like a big missing area here. And there should be a ton of buttons there and buttons up here, and they're just disappearing on me when I restart, even though like I saved them all. And then when I go to config and say enable customize, you see how I have all these like dark gray boxes in my UI. So those are actual buttons like there, but they're invisible for some reason. So that's kind of a weird bug that I've encountered with ZBrush 4R8. It's been kind of annoying. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I hope they fix it though. But it doesn't happen like everywhere. Like all of my buttons up here and over here are fine. They remap buttons? What does that mean? I rebuilt my UI from scratch for 4R8. I didn't import my old UI. No, I did that. It actually happened like just randomly. Yeah. No, I don't import anything off of after an update. Not yet. I got to do that. I always try to find out, like, if I can, before I report a bug, like, try to reproduce it. Make sure it's, like, reproducible. But this one, I don't know. I don't think it's possible to reproduce it in that sense. So anyway, that's how I detail out the wood. So we're just going to kind of go through that. Let's make her You know, actually the biggest performance issue I have with doing like really high res stuff is when you have to undo. So that's like when you undo something, it you get like that delay. Half a second delay when you undo something. Highest level. I have a couple models that are single meshes that are like 80 million, I think, somewhere around there. They can get really high because of the nature of doing things that are for like 3D print that are like more sculptural. And you want them all to be like a continuous mass. So it's kind of hard to work with like super heavy stuff on stream though, because the stream itself like eats up quite a bit of system resources, and but yeah, mostly undo lag though. As long as you have like a lot of subdivisions, there's not a ton of like overall performance lag. It's mostly undue lag, which is like the weirdest thing. Like sometimes you do like a line and you draw a line in your model and it takes like 10 seconds for the action to be undone. So that's like the worst part about working like with really high poly stuff. No, he's an old character. I'll show it to you though. It's this sculpture I did of Pan from Pan's Labyrinth, like years ago. That was back when I was still sculpting wood. Let's see, is this on the stream? Yeah. So this is like a decimated model that I brought into Maya, I think, to render. So some of the stuff softened out a lot, but yeah, I don't know. He had like all these little pore details and stuff. Yeah. I did do a print of him a long time ago, but a really small one. He's not out right now though. I gotta find him. Do you have a SSD there, Sarcastic Otter? I don't know. I just saved her, and she's oh, you know, there's a trick if you save when you're at the lowest subdivision level. It saves like way faster. At least I recall that being a thing. I could be wrong. But I don't know. I save her, and she's 400 megs, and it saves 3 seconds. Takes to save. Okay. That's some like probably old school hack that when you're running like 32-bit ZBrush. I don't know, it only takes like 2 seconds to save this file. 2-3 seconds, and that's at 20 something million. But yeah, having a solid state drive as like your work drive really helps for everything. I guess you missed my announcement. So this is my tablet Intuos 4 that I found in a box the other day. I don't know which one it is though. Small. This is a small. So I had the medium, which is this one. Takes up twice as much space. So I switched it over to a small one. So small now. It takes up less real estate on the desk. So this one is also the wireless one, which I have to like hook up the Bluetooth, but yeah. You know, it's taxing on my arms too, and my back. But I think that is actually a big issue too with like the ergonomics of a Cintiq. I spent like years like finding out like where to position it and move it around and adjust it so that way it like was more comfortable. So I think that's why I had it on an ergo arm. So we're gonna kind of exaggerate the pore sizes too on our girl here. Just because even if we print it pretty large, a lot of this stuff gets softened out a lot. And so it just adds to like this nice surface noise. Be back 1 second, guys. Yeah, Sunday. One, if there's multiple subtools, you can't really define the interactions between the two surfaces. And I think that's like a really important part of sculpture in general, is not just like having stuff like resting on top. So for pieces that get 3D printed, when I'm towards the end of the process, I'll merge everything down into the same subtool, and then do my final detailing. She started out as 2 pieces, or maybe even more. Like the wood was separate and stuff like that. But as we progressed through the sculpture, it's important to merge it down into one piece, so that way you can define like intricately where like the wood is cutting into the skin, and you just can't really get this effect without this being one subtool versus like, you know, the head and like the wood being just on top of each other. So, hey, mortar. Yeah, and in the end, it has to get 3D printed anyways, as so it's and while you could 3D print something in multiple pieces, and I often do, this particular piece, it's going to have mainly two pieces that get printed. But I really haven't thought about like where the breakouts are yet. So yeah, so that's pretty much why. All right, so that's good for our laying down our general pores. So we're just kind of sprinkling her skin with like a generic pore texture. This way it has like just overall, you know, like some surface detail. And this will help drive sort of the definition of skin versus wood. So so once we have that, kind of smooth out the pores on the ears. Then we'll jump over to the the stretchy pores. So these ones will go we'll like start laying these down. In areas that get a lot of movement. They like add directionality to the skin. It's kind of a subtle effect, but like all up in the eye area. Gets these like a lot of distorted. Pores. Ah, man. I enjoy questions, guys. I mean, honestly, you know. I think it's part of the fun of streaming, I think, is just the interaction that I get to have with a bunch of randos. Yeah, everything was separated when she started. Head, like face, wood, teeth are still separate. I think it started off as pretty much just two subtools. I mean, nothing fancy. And then the wood just kept getting like pulled and dynameshed, pulled and dynameshed. And then all right, so now we got our pores in here. So I don't always do this like before or after, but definitely like right now she's looking very like CG, especially like in the eye area. And a lot of this can be helped by just taking like your damp standard and kind of breaking up like this line and just kind of adding a little bit of like chaos to it. So that way it's not just such a clean. Same thing in the corner of the eye too. Right now this is like a very smooth gonna add some tension in here. And again, it's a lot of this like lines like starting and stopping. So don't just like draw like a big line across the face. Like start a line and then kind of stop it and then pick it up again next to it. In a weird way, you're kind of forced to do that when you have a Wacom tablet versus a Cintiq. You can definitely get away with like longer, more continuous strokes with a Cintiq. Ah. Yeah. Let's see. How do I do this? Color. There you go. 57 136 136. Yeah, so she was a product of a sphere to start out. And then she was just, at some point, when I'm done dynameshing, so the stages go dynamesh, block out all my initial details. And her topology is actually really bad. Like the nose topology is terrible, but it doesn't really matter since I'm going so high. So Dynamesh everything, separate subtools when you can, so that way you can just push and pull and not be limited to. I break everything up by material, so like skin, wood. You know, if there's rocks, there would be rocks, and those would all be different subtools. And then there's a stage where like, okay, so I'm happy with all of the wood and the skin forms as two separate pieces. And then I basically have to make the decision to unify them to make it one continuous sculpture. And so there's basically like a no going back now stage where I was like, okay, I'm happy with it. Let's go to the next level and Dynamesh it all together. And then I make any last additional changes to like major shapes and things that are happening. And then from there, it's just a basic Z remesher. And then once it's Z remeshed, then you just start adding division levels per and you work in like waves. So basically like I'll divide like 3 or 4 times and then I'll sculpt as much detail as I can with that division. And then I'll divide again and see if I can go to the next level of detail, like secondary forms. And then finally, now that I'm doing like sort of a combination of tertiary details and then I don't know, tertiary and then like fine pore details. By the way, I consider pore detail and tertiary details 2 separate things. So everyone has like a different definition for that, but yeah, it's a 30-inch Dell screen. Yeah, did you see me in that X-Files show before I was born? Actually, probably not before I was born. I don't think that's an 80s show. I think it's just 90s. Yeah. I mean, I know what you mean. Doing details tedious. I think they are. They're definitely not tedious. Um, but I think you always have to set your. It's all about setting yourself up. So if you have good primary forms, then it's like it's kind of easy and natural to do good secondary forms. So everything just kind of builds on top of one another. So as long as you're working in a way that like allows you to sculpt in a way that everything can add to the layer underneath it, it becomes much easier because you're almost, it's like you're tracing over yourself. So like this form is already here, so adding detail to that form is a lot of times just taking a different brush, you know, and adding in like different types of details, but still following the forms that you initially laid down. And it makes it more fun because you're not struggling to kind of figure out what to do. And you kind of have what, you know, like what everyone says, like happy accidents, like you keep getting those like over and over again. And I think because humans are very they work really well off of rewards. Like, you know, you do something cool and then it rewards you. You get like happy, you get those endorphins, right? So like you kind of accidentally sculpt something and you're like, oh, that's badass. And then like you're happy for a minute and then like you keep going and you keep kind of doing it over and over and over. So like you don't ever feel this like depression stage of like you feel lost and you don't know what to sculpt next because you've already like decided what you should be sculpting. Yeah, I know, right? Bob Rossing the shit out of this right now. Yeah, and that's like the job of me as a sculptor. Mortar is like the like trying to tell that story, right? Like if I can tell you, or better, I guess, better word is show you through the sculpture what's happening rather than having to describe it or like I don't know, to some other descriptive process. So if I can do my job as a sculptor and let the viewers know like what's supposed to be happening here, then I guess you could say I've done my job. Amen. Yeah, it's kind of an evil tree, huh? Good, man. Just doing the live stream here with us on our on my lunch break, I guess you would call it. Then back to work for me. I mean, look at all these happy accidents. Like, I don't know what's going on here. What is this? Like all these cool little nodules and bumps and stuff. Like it's so random and it becomes fun rather than tedious. Like, oh, I'm gonna amplify that and change that out. And you zoom out, you know, and you still maintain all those cool forms and shapes that you put in there in the first place. Yeah. Just a plain old Dell, man. Old one, 2008. And it's not just any tree, guys. It's an olive tree. Olive trees can live thousands of years, apparently. And they're extremely adaptive to different climates, like they'll grow out of rocks. And I feel like the worse the environment, the better an olive tree does. That's a good policy. I didn't really know about that policy, but yeah. Sounds. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left of our stream, guys. So, if you guys have any questions you want to throw my way, feel free to put them out there. Don't be shy. I apologize to anyone who feels like sculpting wood is boring. I know it's not for everyone, but That's why you get such cool diversity, I guess, in the Pixelogic stream. Everyone's kind of doing a different thing. So, a lot of different styles, so it's pretty fun. Olive trees don't smell, actually, as far as I can tell. I have one outside of my window. I could see it if I go over there. So as far as I know, they don't smell. That's true. But I have a male olive tree, which doesn't have olives. Because I don't need that shit all over my yard. I actually had to take down a significantly large walnut tree, actually, in my yard, which is what I had before I got the olive tree, because I didn't want the squirrels would basically just eat all the walnuts before I could get to them, and then they would just litter walnuts all over my yard, and it was such a mess. So I had to get rid of their food source. Sad too, because that walnut tree is cool. Ah, yeah, man. As usual. Thanks for coming over. Oh, yeah, it's a crazy holiday weekend. I always forget. I don't really do the whole holidays thing very much, so. Since I work from home, I can barely differentiate between a weekday and a weekend, so. Yeah. Every day's a holiday, huh? Yeah, man. Maybe right down the center of her head or something. That's true. You could probably have like the pen come in right through here. Gently. Well, guys, That's it for me. That's 2 hours of sculpting wood and face stuff. So, apologize for the slow progress. But, we're making our way through this. Look forward to getting her printed, that's for sure. Oh, cool, man. Well, ZBrush is a lot of fun. Oh, Sunday. Yeah, I do. I have a Form Labs. Oh, yeah. ZBrush is really good for sculpting. I would not put it in a good category for doing photorealistic texturing. You're probably better off using Mari or Substance for truly photographic, realistic texturing. It's definitely a good software to. Yeah, I use Mari too. I don't use it much anymore, but. But I also don't do much texturing anymore either. So, yeah. ZBrush is really good for just blocking in colors too. Like I often will do a lot of coloring in ZBrush and then bring those over and bake out all the color maps and then use those as like at least starting textures for like photoreal stuff. But it really depends on the project. Yeah, for my stylized work, I still do mostly Photoshop. I do like hand painting stuff. But that's mostly because I'm kind of lazy when it comes to learning new programs. Alrighty, boys and girls. Thank you so much for coming to the stream. I really like this particular angle of the sculpt. It's probably my favorite. Anyways, thanks for coming to the stream. I will catch you guys next Friday at, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Daylight Time. I probably won't be streaming on my personal stream this next week. Got fam coming in from out of town. But if you guys do want to jump over at any point and follow me on my personal stream, I would definitely appreciate it, because I will be streaming on that more later next month. So, and I usually jump back and forth between my personal project, this project on my personal stream, and my Pixelogic stream here. So don't want to miss out if you guys are following along with this project. And if you guys are just getting into ZBrush, definitely check out the free trial over at down below. There's a link as well. And there's also the ZBrush Core if you guys are just looking for a really like compact version of ZBrush. That's something that I definitely check out. So a little bit of something for everyone. Again, thank you guys for coming. Hope you guys learned something. If not, bring more questions, because that's how you're going to learn something, I guess. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.